Welcome back to Evan's Quick Picks. We had a 1 week layoff after the UFC 278 Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, with Leon Edwards landing that big head kick, becoming the new welterweight champion, and taking away Kamaru Usman's undefeated record in the UFC. But in UFC Fight Night Paris, we have a big heavyweight main event, possibly deciding the number one contender or interim title bout between Gane and Tuivasa. And in the co-main event, we have a possible number one contender middleweight match between Robert Whittaker and Marvin Vittori. Especially if Pereira is able to defeat Adesanya, this is probably going to be his first opponent unless they give Adesanya the rematch right away. But before we can dive deeper into those, let's start in the women's featherweight division with the first fight between Eileen Perez and Stephanie Egger. Stephanie Egger comes into this fight as a over 3-1 favorite after her last loss to Mayra Bueno Silva. And I'm going to go with Eileen Perez as a pretty large underdog here. But I think that she's got enough to win this. I liked her in her previous fight that she was supposed to have before her opponent dropped out, and Egger was able to jump in and take it. But what I don't like about Egger taking this is, it is very short notice, and especially coming off a loss, you normally don't see those end super well. Eileen Perez has the age advantage, and Egger is moving up a weight, so she's going to be heavier. She's going to be slower. So Eileen, this is her normal weight division. I wouldn't be surprised to see, this fight is going to be on the ground, I think, primarily. I think that's pretty clear. But I would not be surprised to see, Egger maybe sneak that first round, trying to go for those submissions because, she's good with the arm bars that she did against Jessica Rose Clark. But I think as the fight goes on, Perez is going to have more of a gas tank, and she's great with her ground and pound, and I think that's how she's going to win this fight and surprise the odds makers and win the first fight of the night. Moving on to the bantamweight division, we've got Khalid Taha versus Christian Quinones. Taha comes in as about a minus 150 coming into this, but I'm going to take another underdog here in Christian Quinones. He looked good in Dana White's Contender Series. I think this is going to be primarily a striking fight, but I think Quinones has the speed advantage over Taha. But Taha does have the power, so I understand why this is such a close fight. This isn't one I'm super confident on either way, but Taha's got the power. He can land those overhand shots, and if he's able to connect hard on one of those, he can definitely drop Quinones and win the fight. But I actually think how Quinones he's gonna land the quicker strikes. He's gonna fire them in there and then use a level change, get the fight to the ground. Because if he gets the fight to the ground, he's gonna be able to win the fight. But I think he'll be able to do that, walk home with a decision victory, and get the second underdog win of the night. Moving up in to the lightweight division, we've got Benoit Saint-Denis versus Gabriel Miranda. Saint-Denis comes into this as about a 2-1 favorite, and he takes on the UFC newcomer Gabriel Miranda. I think this might be a bit of a shocker here, but I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis by submission. I know he is good at submission, so that's not a shocker. But Gabriel Miranda, if you really look into it, he's never been submitted before, and he's a good submission artist himself. But I really like Benoit Saint-Denis. I know, he's 1-1 in his first two fights. He lost to Alessio Zaleski, but I think he does have the skill set. But what I really like, I could actually see this being a TKO victory as well. Saint-Denis has that striking advantage over Miranda, and that one's clear. But I think that's how he's going to, the first two rounds, he's more going to use that striking advantage, land those shots, tire out Miranda. Miranda's never been in the octagon. And Saint-Denis is younger, so he's going to have the age, he's going to have the speed, he's going to have the striking. And then as he tires out, he'll be able to use that grappling and just smother him with it until he's able to find the submission and win the fight. Up next, a fight that I'm very excited for. Fight number 4, we've got Nassirudin Imav versus Joaquin Buckley. I am going to go with Nassirudin Imav by TKO in this fight over Buckley. In a very similar way, I see Benoit Saint-Denis beating Gabriel Miranda. I think Imav is I think Buckley has the power advantage in this fight, and he's got about a 1-inch reach, but Imav, I think, is just more skilled than Buckley. Buckley's a very he's one of those fighters, I think, that is going to beat the guys that he should beat. He's, I don't think he's going to be kind of a gatekeeper, I think, for the top 15. I don't know if he'll ever get into the top 15. I just don't really see him beating the fighters that are just, that he is the underdog. I don't see him as a good underdog bet. But I do think, whenever you see Joaquin Buckley as a favorite, it's normally pretty confident in that he's going to win it because he normally does knock those guys he's supposed to beat out. But Imav is not someone he's supposed to beat. I don't think he's going to beat him. Imav should do well in this fight. Like I said, I could see Buckley landing a big shot, though, shocking it, landing a TKO. He's always got that power. But I think Imav eventually will get this fight to the ground, land those ground and pound strikes, and eventually win the fight, maybe even earn himself a top 10 ranking in the middleweight division. Moving up back into the lightweight division, we've got Forestzion against the undefeated 8-0 Michael Figalac. I'm going to go with Figalac here. He's making his UFC debut. I think Figalac is going to use his grappling against Ziam. If he can stay away from Ziam's striking, then this shouldn't be too hard for him. Figalac has the grappling advantage for sure. If he gets into the ground, he'll just control the pace of the fight and he's gonna smother Ziam. I think that's how this fight's gonna go, and he'll be able to get a decision win and go 1-0 inside the octagon and keep his perfect record. In the featured prelim, another middleweight matchup, we've got Dustin Stolzebus versus Abusupyan Magomedov. Magomedov is over a 2.5-1 favorite in this fight. He is making his UFC debut, and I'm going to take him. I think he's going to win this fight by submission. I did have a hard time picking against Dustin Stolzebus, only because I picked against Dustin Stolzebus in his last fight, and I was wrong. So normally when you pick a guy and they win, you have a hard time picking against them because they could show you up twice, and that's never a good look. But I'm pretty confident Abusupyan can get this done. Stolzebus has shown that he is susceptible to submissions in the past, and Magomedov has that ability. I think he's going to land he's going to land a big takedown, as Stolzebus is probably going to come in. He likes to fight hard, he likes to fight aggressive, and Magomedov is going to be sitting back waiting for him to make a mistake. He's going to land that takedown, and then he's just going to use his skill to find that submission and win the fight and win his UFC debut. To start off the main card, we've got one heck of a fight here. We've got Charles Jourdain versus Nathaniel Wood. This is a fight you gotta love. I mean, anytime Charles Jourdain fights, it's always entertaining. This one's close though, because Nathaniel Wood, he's had moments where he's looked very, very good in the UFC, but I think coming off of a fight not too long ago, a fight against Charles Jourdain might be a bit too much for him. He just fought against Charles Rosa in a fight that he dominated. Great fight, but dominated it. But I think Charles Rosa and Charles Jourdain are two very different fighters that are on two totally different skill levels. And I think Charles Jourdain is going to be able to get this one done. He's going to use that, that fun fighting style with those incredible strikes. And as long as he was able to improve on his takedown defense, submission defense, that's what lost him the fight against Burgos. I don't know if he really lost that fight, but that's a different story. But if he was able to improve on that in camp, then this should be extremely hard for him, because the longer this fight stays on the feet, the more it favors Charles Jourdain. We could definitely see a knockout here, but I think this one will end up going 3 rounds. I'm pretty confident this is going to be a 29-28 decision, because I think Wood will be able to get the fight to the ground and probably sneak around. Someone's going to score this fight 29-28 at least, but I'm going to give it to Charles Jourdain by decision. Next up, in the featherweight division, we've got 2 UFC debuters in William Gomes and Jono Ahrens. Not exactly sure how this fight made the main card with some of the fights we have on the prelims, but so be it. 2 UFC debut guys. By what I saw, I didn't know too much about these guys coming into it, but I'm going to go with William Gomes by decision. Gomes I think he has the striking advantage over Ahrens, especially with his kicking. I think his kicking is really what's going to be what wins him this fight. And he could even get this fight to the ground, but I could really see him going for those low kicks, going for those body kicks, making Ahrens maybe fight more aggressive as he realizes that he's probably running out of gas. And then Gomes is able to land that takedown and really just keep the fight there and win it by a decision. Moving up the card into the lightweight division, we've got Nasrat Hakkarans versus John Makdessi. Nasrat Hakkarans is the 2-1 favorite, and I'm going to take him in this fight. I like Nasrat Hakkarans here to win this fight over Jean Makdessi. I think what I really saw that made me go with Hakkarans here, his last 5 don't look great because he's 2-3, but his last 2 losses have been to Bobby Green, who that's not anything to be ashamed of. His losses were to guys that were considered. Oh, and Dan Hooker. Yeah, Dan Hooker was his other loss. Those are losses you're not ashamed of, especially Dan Hooker. By the time he fought him, he was on his way up the division. Bobby Green, he fought Islam Makhachev, who is now fighting for the UFC lightweight championship against Charles Oliveira. So you can't really say those are bad losses, and he wins the fights he's supposed to win. Makdessi hasn't been in the octagon in almost 18 months now, or over 18 months now, and you got a guy who's fighting high-level competition against an older guy who hasn't fought in a long time. This just spells out a decision win for Nasrat Hakkarans. Up next, we've got Alessio Dashiriko versus Roman Kapolev in the middleweight division. I'm going to go with a slight upset here and go with Roman Kapolev. This should be a striking battle overall. If it's not, then Dashiriko will win the fight. But I like Kopolev's power in this fight more because I think Dashiriko is going to leave his head open for those big strikes, and I think it's eventually going to cost him. And Kopolev's going to land that big shot over the top, either with a big punch, big kick, and win the fight by TKO. And in the co-main event, a fight that I feel like we're all excited for, at least a little bit. Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker, takes on Marvin Vittori. I'm going to go with Robert Whittaker by a decision here. This fight is definitely not going to end by a finish, just by the style of these two guys. Vittori is not going to get finished just by his style, and Whittaker doesn't really get finished either. So, and because Vittori is not going to finish Robert Whittaker. So, but we could see Vittori win. Vittori, as much as we don't normally love, a lot of us don't love the style that Vittori brings with the pretty slow, get you against the cage, hold you there kind of style. It's effective sometimes, again, especially against guys who don't know how to stop it. But Robert Whittaker is the top of this division, and I think he can stop it. I think Whittaker, he might get caught at least a couple times against the fence, but I think he'll be able to spin out, land shots on the way out, he's going to have more offensive ability in this fight, and that's going to really be what catches the eyes of the judges and what's going to win him this fight and probably get him the next middleweight title shot because, other than Petty and Adesanya, there's really no one else there. Cannonier just fought. These two guys can't give it to Costa again. So I think Whittaker will probably get the next title shot against whoever wins the Adesanya Pereira fight. And in the main event, the fight we've all been waiting for, Ciryl Gane versus Tai Tuivasa. Now, I don't want to sound crazy here, and I am picking Ciryl Gane, but this might just be coming off the Usman Edwards fight and, loving Tai Tuivasa. But I just have a little bit of a sneaking suspicion that Tai Tuivasa could win this fight. But when I think about it in my head, I just don't see too much of a way that happens. Gane is the better skilled striker than Tuivasa. I mean, that's clear. It's clear. Tuivasa is fun. He lands those big shots. He's got great power, and he is a very good striker. But Gane he's going to be faster. He's bigger. I mean, Tuivasa weighs more, but Gane is bigger than him. He's going to find those openings, land those big shots. I think eventually those shots are going to catch up with Tuivasa. I see this being a 2KO win in the later rounds, maybe probably in the championship rounds. Not because of really the power that Gane hits him with, but literally more like one of those exhaustion TKOs where some shot just really Tuivasa can't stand anymore. Drops Gane lays a couple big shots while he's down there. And the ref steps in, stops the fight, and we see a big win for Gane and earns himself at least an interim title shot. So that'll do it for UFC Fight Night France. Let me know what you think. And if you like these predictions, lock them in on your parlays.